Hello and welcome to a financial education webinar by the National Financial Education Center at Debt Reduction Services. My name is Todd Christensen. I'm the Director of Education here, and I am joined today by our financial educator, Charla Lewandowski. Hi, Charla.
Hi.
Sure appreciate you joining me today. Charla is going to be taking charge of most of this presentation, as she facilitates dozens of classes a month and has been involved in the development of this course and taught it several times. So, but the name of the class is Spending by Color, Why We Choose to Spend in Our Own Colorful Ways, and it's all about developing effective spending behaviors and habits, controlling and using our spending properly. So, before we get started, I want to just go over housekeeping. Normally, in our in-class or our classroom setting, we'll ask people to silence cell phones and explain what water and restrooms are. But of course, on a webinar, we all have a pause button at the bottom, and just pause that. But we do suggest that you watch this and listen to this webinar in a place where you will have minimized distractions. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the rest of this presentation over to Charla, and I'm going to be joining you for the rest of this and asking questions and working here with Charla. So Charla, take it away.
All right, thank you, Todd. Well, first of all, just a quick background on why we're the experts. Debt Reduction Services is a nationwide nonprofit organization, and we've been around since 1996. We have counseled thousands of debtors annually, as well as facilitated hundreds of classes every year. So the quick overview of our course today, like Todd said, we are doing Spending by Color. It's one of my personal favorites, and I hope you enjoy it as I do. We'll first look at evaluating spending tendencies, then identifying the spending motivators, and then finding your hidden spending habits. So it's an all-encompassing look at where our money is going.
And this is a presentation that we've developed over a number of years. It's gone through several different versions, and like you say, this is one of your favorites. It's really been fun to develop, and we've presented it at a conference and shared it with other educators, and it's really well received. So I'm looking forward to it as well.
All right. Well, before we get started, I will need to advise you to go ahead and go back to the National Financial Education Center.org website and go to the Resource Center, and you will need to download two different handouts. The first one is a Spending by Color evaluation, and then the Spending by Color results sheet. And what you'll do is you'll go ahead and take that quiz. You'll understand when you read the directions on how to score everything, and you'll read the evaluation for the questions, and then your answers will go on the results sheet. So go ahead and put this presentation on pause, go find those handouts, or go take that quiz, and then we'll come right back. All right. Hello, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the evaluation. At this point, you're going to want to take that results sheet, look at all your numbers, add down the column, and get one number at the bottom, and then those will make sense here in the next minute. But before we get started on the explanation, your first passcode is shopper. So you'll want to write that down. It'll come up later when you go to take your quiz.
Yeah, there'll be 3 passcodes throughout this presentation. They are all in uppercase, capitalized letters. So just keep track of those 3.
All right. Okay, now what we're doing is we've taken your answers and we have created what we call our spending color wheel. We have 3 primary colors from which can also produce a variety of other colors. Secondary colors are kind of mixes of the primary colors. Each color represents a different spending value or motivation. This doesn't necessarily isn't a perfect representation of all of our motivations, but it does really help us to kind of grasp an understanding of where we're coming from and what motivates us. So we're going to go in order, and you can actually compare this to your results sheet. We're going in order across the bottom. So
and one of
first one,
one of the things to keep in mind, is as you look at the scoring across on each column, total possible is anywhere from 0 to 30. Anywhere from about 15 on up, you have pretty strong tendencies in that column or color, and anything from 5 on down is pretty low tendency. So if you have 15 or above in a given color, and right below that, of course, your total, you'll see a little letter on that scoring sheet that will have it'll be the letter of the color. So R. The first one is red, which Charlotte's going to talk about. So those are the ones that you really have to pay attention to, are those high and the lows.
Okay. So if your highest score or have a higher tendency, 15 on up in the red, that means you tend to be the achievement spender. A real sense of personal accomplishment is important to you. You're really into personal improvement. The quality of your work and all of your efforts are very important. You're goal-oriented, and you tend to spend money on things that will improve yourself.
And after you introduce all of these, you're going to tell us on screens later kind of the typical expenses and tips for those of us who are high in each of these colors, in any of these colors.
Yep. And then the next one, it would be the purple, which we call admiration. This is somebody who is really into name brands. The nicer looking things, gives a good sense of personal image, and you want to be esteemed and admired by other people because of your possessions or accomplishments, things like that. Even if you did score low, or excuse me, if you did score rather high in this one and you're sitting here thinking to yourself, but I don't spend money on that, remember that in this situation, this is how you'd spend it if you had it. So it doesn't mean that you are. It just means you have a tendency. The next color would be blue. This is our relationship spender. They're really into spending money on other people without strings attached, just generosity. You'll do things to benefit other people, and you're strengthening your relationships. The best way I've found to describe the blue spender is anybody who has a small child knows that there really isn't anything that they can do for us. You know, I have a 2-year-old, and I can't send her grocery shopping, or she can't really mow the lawn for me. But yet at the same time, I really enjoy giving gifts to her and doing the things that she likes just because she gets so much joy out of it, and that's fun for me. So that's giving to somebody just for their joy and not expecting something in return. The next color is the approval spender. It's green. This person is very concerned with acceptance, you know, where they stand within their social network and their community or within relationships. It's similar to blue. It's spending money on other people, but it's with possibly little strings attached. You're really concerned with how they feel about you. Sometimes I think of it as keeping the peace. So if someone's been nagging you for money or to get something for them or to lend them money, and you finally just give in and hand it over because you're sick of hearing it, that would be approval. Or you're just concerned that, oh, if I don't give them this money, they won't like me, or I feel bad, they need it, you know, I want them to like me.
And you mentioned that these kind of sound familiar or similar from one color to the next, and the way it is set up is, as you know from teaching and all the questions that you get, but that they do have very similar there's a similar situation, or they sound fairly similar, but the motivation, as you mentioned, behind the actual spending is what changes things. Like relationship spending and approval, the motivation one is completely towards another, and the green is more on how it affects my position or my situation.
Exactly. Approval, the green blends right in with yellow, but once again, the motivation is a little different. The responsibility spender, someone who feels a real duty. They feel a motivation to spend because it's the right thing to do. They are to pay their bills on time. They feel like it's important for them to give back. So this one is more of a motivation of feeling not necessarily obligated. Green would be you were giving back out of obligation. Responsibilities, you're giving back freely because it's your choice. You want to give to others and back to your community.
And I guess unlike blue, it's more giving to somebody that you're not necessarily related or have a relationship with.
You don't see personal joy when you donate to the United Way. You know, sure, I guess you could go and volunteer and you could see the happiness in people's faces, but it's more of a larger scale.
Okay.
At least that's how I would see it.
All right.
Yeah. The last color, last but not least, is orange. It's our amusement spender. This is somebody who's probably a lot of fun to hang out with. They are really interested in the fun things, freedom to spend on pleasurable things or something that's exciting. Looking for adrenaline rushes, all the coolest stuff. It's the fun one.
It would be fun, especially if they were they were orange and green, where they would spend on others too. And then they'd feel like they had to take you everywhere everything they did.
Yeah, if you're like that, call me. No, just kidding. Okay. All right, so moving on. So we're going to kind of start back at the beginning, back at red. Some typical expenses of a red spender, like we said earlier, they're really self-investment spenders. They're spending on hobbies, self-improvement. Lifetime learner has always been the word that comes to me. They're really into going back to school, into learning new arts or crafts, books.
Yeah, that may or may not be with a degree in mind, is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, you know, talking about self-improvement, it's like, well, what could be wrong with that? That's great. Anybody who's a red spender, they have it made. You know, they're really lucky. But just like anything in this world, too much of a good thing, it can be taken out of it can go out of control. I don't know if anybody knows anyone like this, but I have, that they just never really seem to get out of school. I don't know how many degrees they have. So it can get a little overboard. Or me personally, I'm a red spender, and it's hard for me to resist buying books and things like that, even though I have a closet full of books I haven't read. Oh, but I really want that one.
Would red spenders have also 5 or 6 different health equipment and exercise equipment things in their closets in their garage?
Yeah, possibly, but hopefully a real red spender would actually be using them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, but no, that would be a temptation. You'd see something and have these great dreams of, oh, wow, I'm going to get that Bowflex and I'm going to be buff. It just never ends up happening. Yeah, that would be a red spender. But anyway, so keywords and phrases really into accomplishment, skill, satisfaction. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing right.
A lot of us hear that growing up, or from family or friends or neighbors. That's typical of a red spender, then, huh?
Exactly. You know, why bother? I'm not going to do it perfectly.
Right.
Yeah. So some tips and suggestions for that red spender. It is great to spend on your self-improvement, but it's also very tempting to overspend. We can't ignore the other obligations in our life. You know, when we have important bills to pay, that extra book really just isn't going to help. Keep your priorities straight and have goals set in place. And, you know, as always, you know, you can budget in money for the fun things that you enjoy to do. And consider, let's see, we have in here the cost to benefit. You know, look at the expense and understand, is this really worth the investment that I'm putting into it? So going back to school for your 5th degree, chances are you're not going to go up a huge income level with that. Any other tips you have, Todd?
Well, I was just thinking most red spenders would probably be fairly practical in their look and their view of what they're doing. But I guess one of the dangers is figuring out how to finance some of their expenses. As you say, making sure that they look far down the road and how much financially they're going to come out ahead, or if it's going to be a wash or worse.
Exactly. Yeah, and some schools out there are more expensive than others, and you need to say, okay, well, is a degree from this expensive school really going to get me any farther ahead than a degree from the local state school?
Right.
You know,
good point.
Important decision to make there. The next color, purple. Typical expenses you can see there were like in jewelry, a good-looking car, riding in a limo. Really into the name brands, like the luxury vehicles, jewelry. You know, I wouldn't be caught dead in a minivan. I'd rather have that SUV. it can also overflow into buying things for other people. Remember, each color kind of blends together. The next one after this is blue, but purple could be, when when you have a family, oh, my kids, they better have name brand clothes on. My husband better be dressed looking good. I don't want to be seen with you if you're not wearing name brand clothes.
And I was teaching this class recently, and that picture of that four-wheeler there on the bottom, it was a class of all guys, 20-something to about 40-something, and these were men's men. These were tough guys, and I said, if anybody would ever go four-wheeling in that kind of a vehicle, and none of them said, no way, that would tip over in a heartbeat. But the reason why that person, that owner of that one, they want to be seen. It's all about image. So it's not about practicality.
So, that kind of goes into the slide after this, but, keywords, image, brand name, I wouldn't be caught dead in, or I wouldn't be caught dead being seen with you in, fill in the blank. So tips and suggestions, Todd just mentioned, that that big truck was not practical. Was not practical at all. Didn't serve the purpose for which it was made. So why would we spend the money on that? Because we want it to be seen. I'm basing what I am on my valuables versus who I am. So one great tip, if this tends to be your spending motivation, ask yourself before you buy things, is this a practical purchase? Am I only buying this so other people can see it? Is this really supporting my goals that I have in my life? Yes, I really do need a new watch. I give classes, and so I have to keep track of time. So I go out shopping. Granted, I could go out and finance some really nice watch from the jewelry store, or I can go buy one for $10 somewhere, and it can still keep time.
But that time wouldn't be as nice looking.
No, it wouldn't, but, how many people are really looking at my watch?
Yeah.
But some people would absolutely say, I wouldn't be caught dead in some cheap watch. I've got to have a nice one. Yep. But ask yourself, are you basing your self-worth off of what you own versus who you are? So anyway, that is a nice transition. We're going next to our blue spender. Like I mentioned earlier, this is somebody who's very concerned with just making other people happy without strings attached. Big on gift giving. You're out shopping, you see something that makes you think of somebody, and it's very difficult to resist buying it for them. These people tend to be very generous. They'll put the spending on other people ahead of spending on themselves. So anyway, we have up here the soccer mom, the woman who's more concerned with supplying her kids with she needs, giving the birthday parties, stuff like that. So the key words and phrases, others, others, others. It's not about me. I want to make other people happy. Tips and suggestions. It does sound like another great spending motivator. Wow, I should be motivated to make other people happy. Wow, that sounds rather noble. But it can be tempting to overspend. I've met many people, actually, that have been in here with some financial issues because they gave so much money to their kids or their grandkids. They felt a real big motivation that they needed to be that gift giver. They didn't have limits on themselves and compromised their own financial well-being because they were so busy buying gifts for whoever else in their life. So it's important to stick to your spending plan, as always, and look for other ways to make people happy than spending money on them.
And that sounds like it leads right into the next color, because that sounds like they're, as you mentioned earlier, almost trying to keep the peace. There's some people who, if they are in fact trying to keep the peace, that would differentiate them from the blue that were just trying to be kind and generous, sometimes even anonymously, I guess.
Yeah, well, and I've had people here for the bankruptcy class that are like, I have 30 grandkids, keeping up with all their birthdays, I want them to be happy, and so you're right. I mean, is that really blue, or maybe it's green? Our next spender, who's approval. A lot of times this involves guilt. People make you feel obligated that you have to give them a gift. We've all felt that at the holidays. Next door neighbor gives you this nice looking gift, and you're like, oh no, I didn't get them anything. Oh, I can't not get them something. What will they think about me?
That's right.
Oh no. So we run out and get something quickly and end up just making that purchase, not out of joy or happiness, but because of feeling we need to keep their approval. definitely a strings attached with this one. You need some sort of recognition. So keywords and phrases. Please, you want to impress. You're concerned with status. What would the neighbors think? You know, I've got to buy that really nice looking landscaping. I've got to invest in the curbing, you know, because I don't want my neighbors to think that I don't keep up with my yard. You know, what will they think if I have any weeds? That kind of thing. So
And
tips
that,
go ahead.
well, I was going to say, and that is you know, how it differentiates differs from purple is that it's more concerned with that with one standing within that group or within a small community, whereas purple is just meant to impress everybody or anybody.
Take a walk through the mall. You'll see
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about. You see these people walking around in these ridiculous clothes.
And
they're
so
there to impress me, even though I don't know them.
Yeah, whereas the green would be meant to impress or to curry the favor of people who they're trying to get close to.
Yeah, and it could be also with volunteering your time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this whole time we've been talking about spending money, but it's spending your time. Time is a value, and how we spend it matters. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, you know, it'd be great to be willing to donate your time and your energies, you know, because you believe it's a worthy cause, but also people can rope you in out of guilt. You know, oh, you need to come help me with this because such and such, and you don't want to tell them no, or else what are they going to think of me? I'm going to be a bad person if I don't help out with that.
Yeah.
Guilty. Yeah. So tips and suggestions for the approval spender. This can be rather complex, but just have to ask yourself, you know, am I spending to please them without expecting something in return? You know, what are my motivations here? Do I need to reevaluate my relationship? Am I using the other person, or am I allowing them to be a moocher? Because you have to realize that sometimes letting somebody sponge off of you is not going to be beneficial for them. It could hurt them in the long run. They need to let go and be self-sufficient. You know, green spenders do attract those moocher types, and that'll really make life difficult for you when you got those kind of friends hanging around.
And you know, you mentioned some of the gift giving. You have a really good way of explaining how for both blues and greens and gift giving, some of the problems that entails if one can't really afford it.
Oh yeah.
But you're not just giving a gift.
Exactly. Although this might be a preview of what's yet to come, but
okay.
We can go ahead and talk about it. When we give a gift to somebody, especially someone whom we love or respect or appreciate, you know, it's supposed to be a joyful experience. It's supposed to make me feel great as a gift giver, make them feel appreciated and loved as the recipient, and I'm supposed to be conveying that feeling to them. So be joyous and happy. That when we're out and we end up spending a little bit more money on that person than we can afford, when we give that gift to them, we're not only giving them the gift, but we might be giving a little piece of resentment with that. Because when we give that gift, we're going to think back later when we're having some financial issues, and one of the first things that'll pop into my mind, oh, I shouldn't have spent all that money on so-and-so. If it hadn't have been for Christmas, things would have been fine. You know, I felt obligated, like I had to buy it, and then you end up getting a little mad at that person, and that completely robs the joy from the gift-giving experience.
And then I guess on the if you flip that around, sometimes if the receiver finds out that the giver couldn't afford the gift, then again the kind of same idea that it can kind of destroy the whole feeling of appreciation, that you can actually get frustrated with somebody who's giving gifts that you know, if you receive a gift from somebody you know they can't afford it, you kind of get frustrated with that person.
Yeah, you feel guilty receiving it, and there goes the joy from that experience. They don't feel like happy about that gift. Exactly. All right. The next one is our yellow spender. This person is very idealistic, very service-oriented. And once again, this may not necessarily be all about money. This can be your time and your efforts, your elbow grease, what you invest in other opportunities. But they tend to spend on things not necessarily close to people that they know. We mentioned this a moment ago. It's, you know, just a feeling of overall, oh, I need to be giving back to my community, or, you know, this service organization can serve so many people. I'm going to give to that. So typical responsibility expenses, they're concerned with their families. So we have the baby shoes up there, making sure everyone's taken care of, paying all the bills on time, even those pesky cell phone bills. They're the kind of person that would go out of their way to spend more money on the recycled products or the, giving back or going green. They're going to buy the organic produce even though it's twice the price of the regular, that kind of person. They'll donate regularly. So anyway, maybe donating to churches or charities, really concerned with your community. Okay, this is the kind of person that will be concerned with insurance policies, making sure everyone's taken care of. So keywords and phrases, it's my duty, it's my job, it's not me, then who? I've got to make a difference in this world. I'm at my front door and here's my child looking alive and well and healthy, and then March of Dimes comes and knocks on my door. How could I possibly turn them down? I've been so blessed in my life. Okay, so really quickly though, passcode number 2, write that down. Store, all caps, like Todd mentioned earlier. Okay. All right, so tips and suggestions for that yellow spender. It's very tempting to overspend on things that are for other people. We have to realize that giving to charities and giving back to others and being generous is a wonderful thing. But if we are ignoring some of our own needs or the needs of our dependents, it can definitely get in the way. Not taking care of yourself. But for the most part, I think most responsibility spenders probably understand that. But I don't know. Did you have anything to add?
Well, I was going to say, I think one of the other dangers when we start looking at the yellow spenders who are spending on their, what I guess we can consider them needs or obligations. They spend on their home or their car. I have to have a car to get to work. One of the dangers might be overspending on a car or a vehicle. Well, I have to have a car, so sometimes some might be tempted to have a newer car or a bigger car, faster car, brighter, shinier, louder, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Whatever those needs are, it becomes a little, for yellows, it might be a little easier to try and justify spending a little more on those.
Mm-hmm. Like, I need a house, I need a safe neighborhood for my kids to live in. So, but do I really need the 3,000 square feet wood floor, granite countertop, wraparound porch to make them safe?
I need the vehicle that has the ultra safety vehicle, and that might be 2-3 times more expensive than another one, or not buy a used because it's used and who knows how safe it is. That's where I think you make a good point on taking care of obligations.
All right, and the last one, the orange spender. This is our person who loves the fun things, the self-indulgent, woohoo, spa day, concerts, extreme sports. I like the toys, the music, fancy stuff. Garage toys. What's that? What you call them, Todd? Right?
I've heard them called garage toys, whether it's four-wheelers or snowmobiles or a lot of entertainment items.
Yeah. So these kinds of items tend to be not necessarily the best investments either. They're a lot of fun, but those mathematic types, the depreciation is astronomical. So they're usually just about the here and the now, short term. There's not anything really long term in any of these things. It's about fun, me. What a rush! Really into telling the stories. They're all about the experience, about what they did, so other people can hear about it too.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That orange spenders can be the life of the party because they're telling about all the fun things that they've done, and people think, "Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun," but they don't tell the stories. Part of the rush. They don't tell the stories about the downside on the opening up the bills and trying to pay for all of that.
Yeah, the 15% interest rate on your motorcycle. Yeah, exactly. So tips and suggestions. This one's pretty easy to see how this could get out of control pretty quickly. If you've ever priced any of those garage toys before, I think you'd see that they're quite spendy. But of course, they always make them very easy for us to get a hold of with convenient financing. But we need to take a look at our values and assess, okay, where in the grand scheme of my life does a motorcycle fit in? Okay, yeah, I think my housing is more important, my food's more important. You know, sit down and make those priority lists. Go through the budgeting class. And be honest with yourself, you know, and think about your family. What is the most important thing for my family right now?
And some people might say, you know what, I don't have kids. I'm single. Nobody depends on me, so it doesn't really matter. You know, I'm going to go out and have fun, or I'm going to do this. And you know, we're not saying to do completely without on any of these things that might be important to somebody now or then or another time. But I think most of us would be able to realize that that people depend on us more than just for our income. There's people that might depend on us for friendship or companionship, and we have to understand what are we willing to risk if we're on some of these extreme sports or some of these extreme activities or the adrenaline rush type things.
Yeah. Well, and that's an important point that you make about any of these colors. Is there's nothing inherently bad or good about any of them. It's just a matter of taking it to an extreme. And I guess that's what one of the purposes of the course is, to understand that and get it under control. You know, it's okay to have fun things, but when those fun things are a higher priority than your needs, that's when we have an issue. Okay, which is why it's not how much you earn, it's how much you're keeping, how much you keep. Importance of spending behaviors. So we have some that we've nicknamed our universal spending behaviors. These cut across all the colors. This applies to everybody. I don't care what color you scored on. This motivates all of us. It's all of our behaviors. These behaviors are known to advertisers. They understand this. In fact, it's scary. They know it better than we do. Some of these behaviors are subtle and programmed. It's just part of how we were raised. It's our culture. But the good news is, because it's been programmed, we can also unprogram it. So that's why we're going to kind of dissect these.
These universal behaviors you're going to talk about, they're not necessarily they're not the colors that we've just been talking about. These are specific types of habits or behaviors that cut across all colors.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter which one you are. This could apply to you.
Yeah.
The first one, this is our compensatory spender. This is one where we're keeping up with the Joneses.
I love that hot rod.
I know. That's my lawnmower that I picked out. We picked a lawnmower. We kind of pick on lawnmowers a lot because, you know, you live in a postage stamp-sized lot, yet down the road, Mr. Jones got a new lawnmower. Well, it's a riding lawnmower. Mine's a push. I can't push my lawnmower. I've got to have a riding one like him.
It's not fair, or that would be embarrassing if he saw me pushing. He might think I don't have enough money to get a riding lawnmower.
Yeah, I can't be seen as having less than Jones. So it's really concerned with what you look like, compensating, feeling like you're inadequate. So I've got to make up for that with the things that I own. Basing what you are worth on what you own instead of who you are. So tips and suggestions on this one. True worth is on the inside, not on the stuff. So just like we learned in grade school, beauty is on the inside, and that is so true. You know, we need to understand that I am not what I own. Like the saying that drives me crazy, I've heard it on movies and people saying, well, you know, you are what you drive.
I've seen bumper stickers just this last week.
You saw that on a bumper sticker?
I did.
Oh, it drives me nuts. I hate that. So, and I don't believe that at all. It's not true. I am who I am because of my values and the type of person that I am, not by the stuff that I own.
That's right.
And before making the purchase, ask, is it practical? Why am I buying this? Can I really justify its use? You know, I've already got a perfectly good push lawnmower. It cuts the lawn really well. I've got a postage stamp-sized lot. It takes me 20 minutes to mow the lawn. Riding lawnmower, it might take me 18 minutes. You know,
those 2 minutes.
Yeah, it really might not make a difference.
So, and as you say, this might, you know, some people might when they're watching this might say, well, that just certainly sounds like that's just a purple spender, but it can be purple. It can be somebody who's red that maybe they feel that they need to improve themselves more, or they need another degree, or they need or an orange spender that they're a friend, an old high school buddy just is going mountain climbing, and well, I'm going to go join them, even though you can't afford the trip or whatever it might be. So
someone told me a story of a coworker that put a $9,000 vacation to Alaska on the credit card because all of his coworkers were going and he couldn't not go.
Ouch! Ouch!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a favorite story for compensatory spending. I'll have to tell it.
Go for it.
Well, I was in a shopping mall in California, so I don't know if anybody's been there, but they have very beautiful shopping malls there. They're the size of Idaho. No, just kidding. And they're very nice and fancy. And we were in a store of a very name brand, high-end designer, Louis Vuitton. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Todd.
Yes.
Have you?
I don't own one, but yes, I've heard of them.
Okay. They make really nice purses and luggage and belts and accessories and stuff like that. And so we were in the store, and they sold purses. And I was with my mother-in-law, and we had to ask the salesperson, who was really cool. We're like, okay, so what's the cheapest purse in the store? So she takes us over to one of the shelves and pulls it off, and it was probably about the size of an old VHS tape. And it was pink and plastic. It wasn't even leather or anything. But it had Vuitton written across it. It was $800. So we then said, okay, we've got to know, what's the most expensive purse in the store? So she takes us to the front of the store, and there it is in a glass case with the light shining down, ha-ha, from heaven, with a glorious splendor, was a $10,000 purse. With all kinds of fancy zipper, and I mean, it wasn't even gold, but...
Well, I guess if you spend that much on a purse, you don't have to worry about putting any money in it.
I know. I was like, I'll buy it if it has $9,990 in it. But anyway, so I have to ask myself, who would buy a $10,000 purse? Is there really any practical justification for a $10,000 purse?
Somebody who's not concerned with practicality.
Nope. It's because there's people that all their friends have $10,000 purses, and I wouldn't be caught dead in anything less. Am I going to walk down the red carpet in a Target special? Probably not. So it sounds extraordinary, but, we can do this kind of spending even on a smaller scale in our day-to-day life.
Yeah, obviously somebody's spending money on that.
Yeah, they wouldn't make it if somebody didn't buy it. Sad thing is, that's not even the most expensive purse made. She said they sell them up to $40,000, just not in that store.
Ouch.
Yeah. Okay. Well, moving on, the entitlement spender. This is somebody that's feeling really unappreciated, which we all feel unappreciated. We work hard, and you cook dinner, you clean the house.
At different times. Hopefully you don't always feel unappreciated at work.
Well, no, but you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Okay, just give me a hard time.
I won't take that personally.
Of course not. I feel appreciated just for you bringing that up. No.
Very good.
Okay, but anyway, in our personal lives.
Right.
I did all this stuff and my spouse just takes me for granted, or my kids take me for granted. I think I need to appreciate myself.
Right.
I need a little shopping therapy. I've heard that saying before.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of it. And then on the other end, wow, this has been the best day ever. Such and such, got this wonderful thing happen to me, got a raise or whatever. Let's go out and celebrate. And you can pretty much spend that entire raise at one meal celebrating your raise.
That's true.
So it can kind of go on both ends. The important thing is we have to budget in that fun money, because if we don't allow ourselves a little bit of leeway, we're likely to kind of flip a 180 and go on a spending spree. If you're pinching those pennies and not allowing yourself to have any fun, then it could be an issue later.
And that fun money is not necessarily something at the beginning of the month we say, this money I'm going to put aside to do this or that, something specific. But just I'm going to have maybe $5 a month or $50 a month or whatever it might be, according to somebody's budget, that they can spend on those lousy days or on those good days. They can go out and spend it without feeling guilty that they've spent money, because they had it in there to spend however they wanted during the month.
Exactly. So it's spending on fun within reason and under control. Yeah. And another thing is, it says on here, write yourself a note of appreciation, and that's what we should do. You know, remember that we're not working this hard and we're not giving back to our family so much because all I need is appreciation. No, I'm doing this because this is what I believe is right. I work this hard during the day because I want to go to bed at night and be able to sleep because I know that I am working as hard as I should be, and I'm doing it for myself, not because I need thanks from other people.
That's a good point.
All right. So habitual spending. Spending can become a habit. It's very easy. My personal issue is we got in a huge habit of going out to eat every Friday night. It's been a long week. Who wants to cook, you know? And there'd be nights where it's like, oh, I have food at home we could have easily eaten, but oh no, it's Friday. We got to go out.
Because you're in the habit of doing it.
Exactly. And this can become really serious. People get in habits of eating out every day at lunch for work because it's easy to sleep in that extra 20 minutes rather than getting a lunch together, or even 5 to 10 minutes to get a lunch together. And even worse, I could sleep in even another 5 minutes if I stopped at the drive-thru for breakfast as well as lunch. I always think about different habits I can get in. You know, different advertisers really hit on this one. They make it easy to get in a habit. They want you there daily or weekly. We won't pick on anybody specifically, but you'll know who I'm talking about. But habits can impact other people because you're putting those habits above the needs of your family or your friends, loved ones. So some suggestions and tips. Replace that habit with something that's cheaper, like get a hobby, something constructive. You know, with that whole Friday night have to eat out thing, you know, I just had to break that habit. Plan my meals and realize that, look, just because it's Friday doesn't mean I have to go out. You know, maybe I'll cook dinner on Thursday and have enough for leftovers on Friday. You know, take a look at what your habits are and figure out where your money's going.
Or for those who, on that, you know, we have a picture up there for those who have to have their daily gourmet latte or whatever it might be, rather than maybe cutting it out altogether, cut it down from 5 days a week to 1 or 2 days a week, and take your own coffee in the morning, or make something along those lines.
Yeah, or find a cheaper version of that coffee, you know, because some people go for the experience. They know the names of the people in the coffee shop, you know, first name basis with the barista. You know, I can't stop going. I feel bad.
Right.
Or it's part of my social life, you know.
Which would be part of the green spending.
Yeah, it would be. So, like we said, this can go for any color, though. But one thing you can do is possibly change what you're drinking. He mentioned the nice lattes, which are delicious, full of all kinds of good stuff in there, syrups and steamed milk and espresso and everything. And you could look on the menu and maybe replace what you have been getting that's $4 or $5 with something that's $2 or $3. I always say maybe switch back to coffee. Gourmet coffee shops have delicious espresso, but they also have delicious coffee by itself, and it's a similar product. It tastes great, but it's usually much cheaper than the espresso drinks for some reason. So maybe just look at the menu and see if you can find something that's more affordable. And then, of course, in cases of addictions, you're going to need to seek professional counseling for those. There's some other issues there. Okay, the next one is our sales spender. This one's kind of my favorite. But it's on sale. I have to have it, you know.
Can't pass it up.
Yeah, I can't pass this up. There's always a sense of urgency. Buy it now, this weekend only, because they know we're going to be hard to resist that. Oh, I can't turn down 90% off. And that's the thing. Sales spenders speak in percentages. You know, you ask somebody, oh, how much was that? It was 50% off. Well, how much was it? It was 50% off. How much was it? 50% off.
50%. What part are you not getting?
Yeah, we're not speaking the same language. You're speaking in percentages. That's caught my eye before. You know, been in a nice department store. I see this just happened a month ago. I saw some very attractive coats. I was like, oh, those are cute. 50% off. I was like, ooh, I might have to go look at that. And I look up the price tag. Original price $350.
Who says?
Yeah, and so I was like, 50% off of that is still more than a full price one at a different store. So you have to figure out the actual cost of the item. That's one of the things that I always suggest, that if you're enticed by great sales price signs, 75% off, yeah, okay, you could get a great deal, but go in there. If you can't do the math in your head, get your cell phone out, use a calculator, or worst case scenario, find someone who works in the store. Ask them specifically, how much does this item cost? And they'll tell you, okay, this sweater is still $59.99. This is a $300 cashmere sweater. It's on a good sale though, but would you still spend, $60 on a sweater?
And you have a great question, a scenario for finding out if somebody is a sales spender.
Yeah, this is your
and
telltale
we're
sign.
go back to the lawnmower again. That's
Okay.
one of my favorite questions that you've ever come up with. I think it's just great.
Okay. Imagine yourself living in an apartment complex. All right. So when you live in an apartment complex,
no responsibilities.
No responsibilities. You're on the 3rd floor, no yard to maintain. You have nothing going on. All you've got to do is just clean up your apartment. That's about it. So you're walking through a nice store, and there they are, lawnmowers, 90% off.
90%
Would you
off.
buy one?
Yeah, if I'm a sales spender, I'm saying, of course I'd buy one. It's 90% off. When am I ever going to get that kind of deal again?
Yeah, I'll put it in storage. I'm going to buy a house someday.
Yeah, so I'll just store it somewhere. I'll just put it in storage.
Or I'll know somebody who'll need it. Yeah, exactly. And so, at the end of the day, yeah, maybe you got a good deal, but then you've got to pay to store it. You've got to haul it home. It's not even for you. It's really not something you needed. But by golly, it was 90% off. I can't resist it.
And sales spenders are very proud of their accomplishments. That's one of the things that quite often they're raised to view their spending accomplishments as a very positive thing. Look what I'm doing for the household, for my family, or for myself. I achieved something good. I only spent 10% instead of 100%.
Yeah.
Whereas it's really an idea of, as you said, kind of stepping back and getting an idea of what does it really cost.
Yep. And our favorite sayings, I don't know if they're yours, Todd, but I definitely like them. The sales come and go, but your money only goes once. That's definitely saved my neck a few times, out shopping, and I see something that, oh, that's such a good deal, I want that. And then at the same time, I'm like, well, you know what? If I come back to the mall next weekend, there will be something else that I'm dying to have. It never fails.
Or it'll be on sale. That same item will be on sale at a store down the road next week or next month.
And then the other one, sales are not opportunities to save, but occasions to spend. I don't know about you, but I've never walked into a sale and come out with more money in my checking account than I walked in with.
But every single ad I've ever heard of about a sale says that they're going to save me money. Don't I save money?
I always tell people these are not charitable organizations. They're there to make money, and they are making money. It may be a sale, but they're still making a profit.
So saving money is not the same thing as spending less money. All right. Yeah. We're still spending.
Spend. Okay.
All right.
All right. Last one on the universal spending behaviors. The obligatory spender. This is the guilt spender. They feel that pressure to give. What's that?
This is the one you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, my scenario of giving the gift and having a little resentment going with that. So that's why we say involve guilt and remorse. And this can go for anybody, your family, friends, strangers, acquaintances. You feel obligated to give them gifts when you shouldn't have to. So some suggestions and tips. Always put sentiment above price. My favorite story to tell about this, it's another personal story, but this summer my parents had a wedding anniversary. And my grandparents, they don't have a whole lot of money. They're at that fixed income stage of their life and not a lot of disposable income. So my grandmother took a piece of plain white paper, folded it in half. She drew a little picture on the front, and inside that wrote my mother a nice long letter, explaining, oh, I'm so proud of you. You've been married for these many years, and all of the things you've accomplished, and all this stuff. And it was from her heart. And reading that was probably one of the sweetest things I've ever seen in my life, and that meant so much to my mom, far more than any kind of little trinket my grandmother could have gone out and bought for her. Because once again, it would have made my mother feel guilty if she'd gone out and spent too much money on her. So the sentiment is very important.
I think the art of letter writing, and particularly handwriting letters, is something that would be nice to see more of.
Exactly. And you always brought up a good point about financing your gifts. I don't know if you want to explain that, using credit to buy your gifts for other people.
That if you're giving gifts on credit, then instead of the gift that keeps on giving, that's the gift that keeps on taking, unfortunately, as the interest keeps building up on a balance that you haven't paid off.
And you always mention that it's false generosity.
That if you think, well, I'm being generous, I'm giving somebody else a gift, but if we're putting it on a credit, then actually we're using somebody else's money to be generous. So we're being generous with somebody else's money, which is not really generous.
Yep. And, giving back with service time or even an experience. The gift of service can be great. I have a couple of friends. One of my friends is a computer science kind of guy. He's really knowledgeable about networking and, all that fun stuff. And I have another friend who works for a disaster cleanup company. He's the kind of guy that you've got a flood in your house, they'll come in and they'll fix it up. So my friend who's into computers, we had a bad windstorm. This was a long time ago, and it blew some tiles off of his roof, and he didn't know the first thing about replacing them. So he asked our friend, who definitely would know how to do that, hey, can you give me some tips or suggestions? Maybe you can come out and help me. I'll pay you. How much are you going to charge me? And the other friend was like, hey, you know what? I've got an idea. I need to wire my house for a wireless network, and I have no idea how to do that. Maybe if you come and do that for me, I'll come help you with your roof. And they helped each other out, and it definitely saved them both a lot of money.
Yeah, I guess if somebody's asking how to wire a wireless network, they probably do need that extra help.
Yes, exactly. And he had a huge house and didn't want to do it all by himself, and that kind of thing. So we all have our own skills, things we're good at, even if it's just babysitting or just offering a meal. We all love to eat, and we're all going to eat. So if we're going to be preparing a meal, we might as well invite others to share that with us. And the last one I really like, giving an experience. It doesn't take a lot of money to make memorable experiences for people, especially for kids. My uncle would always do this for my cousin. If she'd had a horrible day or she was down, or, rather than going, okay, Ashley, let's go take you shopping, or let's go get you ice cream, or, let me go buy something for you to make you feel better. No, they'd set up the video camera, which granted they had to buy the video camera, but they would make a movie. So you sit back and watch all these movies over the years, and they're hilarious. They'd write a script, and they'd act it out, and that would be their way of cheering each other up and without it costing them money. So giving someone a gift of an experience.
That'd be fun.
It's fun, yeah. All right, so now we have our special spending behaviors.
How special?
Very special. These are very specific to your color. The impulse spending, I'll be honest, confession time, that's probably my biggest tendency on spending. My thing that I battle with the most is my impulse spending.
Yeah, I think we all struggle with impulse spending in different areas.
Yeah, and then you always say yours is convenience, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what you're kind of getting at. These might all be. These are kind of, we're all going to be subject to impulse spending, because I think that's the spending behavior that in most of our classes we don't have to explain very much what it is, but why it is and where we're have the impulse to spend. I think that's what we're getting at in this presentation.
Exactly.
It's a little different.
And I think that these two are also, we see the most in marketing. You watch commercials, listen to the radio. You'll hear the others, but these are the two that you really hear the most. They want to make us decide impulsively and make it convenient. So our next passcode, number 3, is sales. So write that down. Okay. So the convenience spending. What we mean by, how I don't know how you worded that, but we're specific to your number. It's usually the lowest scoring number that you had. So look across your results form and figure out which color was your lowest color. So far we've kind of been thinking about, which one is my highest, which my tendency. Well, look at your lowest one. That's where you'll make your convenience purchases.
And particularly if it's in under 5 points total, or maybe even 10 points. But yeah, with the real low scores.
So convenience spending. This is putting things off to the last minute. This is the person who's, my time is my money. I'm not going to shop around. I'm just going to get what's easy. A lot of those giant retailers have really capitalized on this. One-stop shopping. Just come on in. We guarantee the lowest prices. Yeah, even though that may be true, but what they're really telling us is don't bring a list. Just show up. We promise. Anything you buy will be the cheapest you'll find. And they're hoping that you'll end up putting a few extra things in the cart than you had intended on. But it's the cheapest there is, and I don't have time to look around. This is the easiest thing there is. So if you're a red,
it doesn't matter what color we are our lowest color is. This can be applicable to any of us, regardless of that, right?
Absolutely. If your lowest number was a red, the thing that comes to my mind, certain trade schools and adult learning centers, they make receiving your certificate or degree as easy as possible, and usually they tend to be more expensive. We usually see these commercials for them. And I got a laptop just for signing up. They're really giving you a lot of incentives, trying to get you into the door because they know you don't want to. They want to make it easy and attractive. But they're always more expensive than your local state school, which takes a lot of effort. You've got to go and you've got to fill out paperwork, and usually the commute and the campuses are larger. More walking between your classes. Whereas the smaller trade schools, everything's right in one spot. If your lowest number was a purple, you're going to be putting off that shopping for clothing or buying that nice car. You're just going to not want to do it. Your example you came up with, I've got a work party or some high school reunion, and I've got to get a formal outfit for it. I hate shopping.
Yeah, for those who are yellow who don't spend on themselves, or blue, who don't spend on themselves, they spend on others. That they're thinking, they're putting off as long as possible that need to buy something to wear to a work party or to a reunion, and so they'll wait until the last minute, and then they'll finally go and get something and usually overspend or only visit one place because it's so odious. It's such an odious task. They just do not like to do it. It's the lowest, whatever their lowest spending color is. That's what they try and avoid.
Yeah, and then from personal experience, that would be my mother. And when I got married, she put off buying the dress for the wedding for so long that, it was like a week beforehand. She was like, fine, I've got to go out and get something. So she just grabbed something, and then in all the pictures now, whenever she looks at it, I hate that dress. I can't believe I wore that. It's like, you put it off, and you just had to go get something, and then you ended up not liking it, and that kind of feeds that negative feeling with shopping. So that was definitely. Then if your lowest score was blue, that's the person who will be Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve. They put off that gift giving to the last minute. They want it to be convenient, and so they're going to purchase whatever is in stock. Not put a lot of thought into it. Do their Christmas shopping at the grocery store kind of thing. And then if your lowest score is the green, I think about those in-house parties. That I wouldn't go out of my way to buy that particular brand of makeup, but my friends got me at her house. They make it easy, and I've got to get it, or else I'll make her feel bad. So it's really convenient. That's why they make those in-house parties. They want it to be easy. They show up to your house for you. You don't even have to go anywhere.
They want to rely on that importance of pleasing the other or spending money just to kind of keep, I won't say keep the peace, but to relationship spending.
Yes, exactly.
To an extent.
And then the last one, the yellow, you only donate money when it's convenient. this person isn't going to go out of their way to go look up the United Way, but hey, I'm at the grocery store, I'm buying stuff, and they ask me, hey, do you want to round your purchase up to the nearest dollar and donate to such and such? Oh, okay, yeah, why not? So you end up giving to causes that you may not even know what they do, but it was convenient. They asked you, so yeah, okay, why not?
It may be a very worthy cause, but yeah, it may not even be one that you're aware of, or where you'd prefer your money to go.
Exactly. So with this one, we only want to take the cash that we need. You know, shop consistently on the same day of the week. Plan out your purchases, because there's nothing worse than wanting to make dinner that night and realizing, oh, I didn't buy that one ingredient that I needed. Well, I might as well hit the drive-through. You know, plan out that shopping. Okay, impulse spending. This is going to be your highest number that you scored. That's where we'll make all our impulse purchases. This is the stuff we like. This is buying on a whim. Impulse purchases usually appeal to our senses. They look good, they taste good, they smell good, you know, they feel good. We have on here the store layouts. These department stores and grocery stores, they know more about the way our brains work than we do. They know what colors our eyes are attracted to, what shapes, what designs, which direction we tend to turn when we walk into a room. And you'll notice when you need to make a return, a lot of department stores, you've got to go all the way to the back, and then checkouts are right at the counter. So some suggestions and tips on that. Make sure you're sleeping on large purchases. If it's anything over $50, you might really want to sleep on it. You don't want to regret that. Make sure you keep on your spending plan. That's the best way to combat the impulse purchase. When you know you've got some goals and this doesn't follow up with my goals, I can't buy it. This is when we say, I live by a budget, and it sticks in your head. Stick to your list. And the last thing, don't shop for fun. That's what gets me in trouble. Oh, I'm bored. What should we do? Oh, let's go over to such and such a store and walk around.
But I'm just window shopping.
Yeah. Oh, but wow, there's a certain thing that I can't live without on sale. And this is sale spending again. But anyway, so no shopping for fun. I know that stinks. A lot of us, that's what we do. You know, what else is there to do? But in the long run, it'll save you a lot of money. Not to be that sale spender.
All right. Well, Charlotte, I got a question for you. You know, we talked about a lot of ways to save money here and there, a lot on the day-to-day sort of thing, and a lot of people are really penny wise when it comes to those day-to-day figures. They might clip coupons. They might shop sales for the things that they need, not just every sale. But there's this idea of being penny wise and pound foolish, of saving money on the little things, but on the big things, going perhaps either overboard or not really thinking about it very much. You know, you mind talking about that a bit, if you would?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that comes to mind is home buying. You know, oh, I save my money, but you go out, you're buying a house. What is it, within the first, 15 seconds of being in the home, poof, you've decided.
I've heard that. I've heard that statistic that they'll say that by the time you walk in the door, it's certainly less than a minute that people will decide to buy the house or not. And that sounds pretty quick, but that's being pound foolish then.
Well, and sometimes we don't think, when it comes to buying a small thing, if I can get it toothpaste 50 cents less, that sounds like a great savings. But when something large, the difference on this vehicle, this is a $15,000 vehicle, whereas I can drive across town and I can get it for $14,500. That doesn't sound like that much. The percentage isn't as huge, but really, at the end of the day, that's still $500.
That's true.
If there was $500 toothpaste and $450 toothpaste, I think we'd pay attention. But when it comes to those large things, it seems small, even though really, if you would ask somebody, how much is $500 a lot of money to you? Well, yeah, it is. But, you know, so I found this great house, and it's $10,000 more, but I love the house. I don't care.
Yeah,
I gotta have it.
Sam.
And car buying, I just mentioned that. Oh, wow, you know, this car is practical and useful, and then there's this other one that's fabulous, and it's $5,000 to $10,000 more. I don't care.
Yeah, they know if they can get us on the lot and sit us in a car. Boy, if they sat me in that car, I would love that. That looks like a great car. But if they sit us in the car and let us listen to the stereo or smell that new car smell, or what we should make sure that we're doing is looking online beforehand to get a really good idea of what is a good deal on that vehicle. Make sure it fits within our budget, of course.
Yeah, and it's very high pressure as well. They know how to appeal to us. Appliances and furniture. I'm guilty of this. Right after I got married, I needed a washer and dryer, and convenient. I didn't feel like shopping around, so we just went to the store, got one, and brought it home. And then a couple months later, I was sitting there thinking, I should have looked around for one on sale. Now that I think about it, I have no idea what I spent on those.
Yeah.
So it was like, I need a new washer and dryer. Just go buy one. And then vacation.
What they all cost now. So.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds fun. A vacation.
Yeah, I'm with that guy right there. I don't know if you've ever felt this way when you're on a vacation, but I sure do. It's like, even though I'm really, I try to be good with my money, I try to be a disciplined spender, but the moment I'm on vacation, it gives you this, I'm only on vacation once every decade. I might as well enjoy it, and I'll figure it out when I get back. I don't really care. We're here to have fun.
I've heard of people who say, well, I'm not going to budget for my vacation, but I'll just spend my paycheck. Whatever I get my paycheck, I know that's what I'm going to spend on my vacation, and then I'll work it out later when I get back. I mean, it's kind of different crazy ways of thinking about all that.
Yeah, or the dining out when you're on vacation. I would never go and pay $50 a plate for a restaurant dinner any other day, but I'm on vacation. I don't care. You only live once, so you end up overspending just because I'm on vacation.
I guess if you actually budget for it and you plan on it, it's okay, but just to be aware that it's so easy to overspend on vacation. That's certainly true.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And that concludes Spending by Color.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Charlotte. I appreciate your help on this and developing and perfecting this presentation. So you have now sat through this presentation. You will find the quiz. If you are looking for credit for this quiz, you will find it on the same list on our Resource Center. Please go ahead and take that quiz, submit it for credit. Otherwise, again, we wish you all the best and great success in reaching your goals and living according to your financial and life values. So thank you all, and have a great day.